All right, what is going on, everyone? Today we're going to be going over what exactly is the full value for all of the banner characters currently in the game. Now, I know that some of these banners are actually going to be going away a little bit sooner than others. Obviously, the current banners we have now and the ones we're going to be discussing is going to be the Liberario banner, the Nikke banner, and then you have the Pilgrim rerun banner of Modernia, Dorothy, and Red Hood right here. So you can see, just in general, I have one dupe of Modernia, Dorothy, I have 3, Red Hood, I have quite a few, and then going over to the other 2, I only have one dupe in Nikke, and then I don't have any dupes in Liberario. So that is going to be the whole purpose of those characters and where I am coming from in my standpoint of discussing the characters. And we'll go ahead and actually go to where they are currently right now. We can see my Red Hood right here is very strong in terms of my own personal box, where she's at in abilities. So Red Hood, initially upon her own individual release, was actually the strongest character in the game, bar none. No discussion about it. It was absolutely insane what she was capable of outputting. I do think she has fallen off quite a bit, but one of the main aspects and enticing purposes of her kit is the fact that her burst, you can actually use burst 1, burst 2, and burst 3. Each individual burst actually has different effects to Red Hood herself. We can see here burst 1 is you are going to be providing a damage buff for all allies, increasing the attack of the caster by 10 seconds. Very strong. Burst 2 is you're essentially going to be taunting the enemies to where they are just going to be, for the most part, targeting your own Red Hood. And then burst 3 is her giga powerful, massive burst damage where her sniper rifle gets charged 100%. So that's where Red Hood stands. Moving over to the other character that is Dorothy. I'm going over the Pilgrim reruns first, and then we're going to go over to the characters. Dorothy here is very strong. Again, upon release, very strong. Not the best character actually upon her own individual release, but something that Dorothy does do that is very strong, and why a lot of people still like her essentially for boss battles, is the fact of her burst skill. Is that you are going to be designating an enemy with the brand debuff, and all of the damage that you have accumulated in that instance is going to be distributed onto that enemy with the brand, causing more and more damage onto that own individual enemy. While also the fact that her burst passive is that when you fire your last bullet during your manifestation, you are going to be affecting all allies to be doing a little bit more damage to individual parts of a boss battle. So between these two individual characters, Dorothy is more usable in terms of boss battles, where you actually have individual parts for the boss, whereas Red Hood is just raw damage straight up. That's all she really does. And speaking of raw damage straight up, let's jump over to Modernia. Now, Modernia, upon her release, much like Red Hood, was by far the best character in the game because of her burst. Up for 5 seconds, might not seem, or not 5 seconds, I'm sorry. You are going to be increasing the burst time by 5 seconds. But the biggest thing is that she's going to be entering into her destroy mode, and she's going to have unlimited ammo for 15 seconds. What this means is that her whole screen, the whole screen is going to look like a auto aim mechanic. And whatever you look at, you're just melting. They're going away. That was her biggest appeal, and the reason why, near the beginning of the game, it was mainly her or Scarlet. Those were the two characters that you wanted to have, and for the most part, people wanted Modernia because of the fact that you are just auto-deleting everything, which is very strong. Again, much like Red Hood though, she has fallen off by quite a bit. Now, moving on to the actual 2 new anniversary characters, we're going to be starting off with Nikke. Nikke has actually grown on me. I do like her a little bit more, mainly with the first passive and the burst, causing increased damage dealt by your allies. Is it as high of a boost as other characters? No. But Nayuta also provides additional damage dealt just based off of herself. She is strong enough to be doing damage on her own, whereas other supporting characters quite aren't there, much like Siren and much like Litter for the burst 1, main position characters, right? I know that Nayuta doesn't actually fit into that slot since she is a burst 2 character where those other two are burst 1s. Nayuta really is in combat with Crown, honestly, for burst 2 characters. Now, Crown is easily a better character, but if you do not have Nayuta, I do actually think she is worth it because of the boost that she provides for the team and the flexibility as well as damage output that she also provides. Now, Liberario is actually very, very strong. She actually surprised me with how much damage she is actually capable of doing. I was just floored. Just the fact that you're increasing your own damage by quite a bit. The negative side is that she doesn't actually fully charge her weapon, but it's like a big scatter shot essentially. She just auto hits everything with her burst. It doesn't constantly keep up, much like Modernia, but the raw damage that she actually does is quite high. But if I had to rank these characters in just broad terms, I honestly would say Nayuta would probably be number 1, just because of the fact that her being a burst 2 character actually lends credence and helps her, providing a lot of damage boost. Now, if you have Crown, is it necessarily the same spot? No, I do think Crown is better, but Nayuta is a good burst 2 supporting character. The second character on this list actually is going to still be Red Hood, because of the fact that she's able to activate her burst in 1, 2, and 3. The damage, raw damage she's able to provide, I think is still very, very valuable. Again, not at the peaks and pinnacle of where Nikke used to be, but Red Hood is still near that top where it is still valuable. And then number 3, I actually would say Dorothy, because of the fact that what she provides in terms of boss battles, I think is still very valuable. Number 4 is going to be Modernia. Just the fact that her burst skill is like an auto delete for newer players and mid-game players in like story mode, I still think is very valuable. And then Liberario, I don't think is actually like the pinnacle of all of these characters. Now, if you already have all of them, of course, get Liberario. That's essentially what I did. I already had all of them. But if you don't have any of those characters, I do think that is the order you do want to be going in to help maximize your own account.